I'm going to press Alt F4 to close my window and switch back to blend. Let me go ahead and get rid of the stroke here. And one of the ways to fix transparency is to have something behind it that's not transparent. So I'm going to create another rectangle behind this one, stretch it out to the full size of the window, and send it to the back. Now my red and white checkerboard, when I press F5, I have a completely opaque checkerboard, so I'm not seeing the elements underneath. But what if I want to have that sometimes, but not at other times? Let's explore how we could do that. I'm going to go ahead and make my base checkerboard hidden by default. And then I'm going to add a new event handler onto my window so that when the mouse enters, I'm going to make that white visible. So in effect, as long as the mouse isn't over my application, it'll look semi-transparent and out of the way, but as soon as my mouse cursor comes within the bounds of my window, it'll become solid and ready to respond. Now, if I'm going to modify the visibility of that base rectangle in an event handler, that rectangle has got to have a name. So let me go ahead and name that one Backplate. Now, let me go to my window, go to my events, and I'm going to use the mouse enter event. I'm using mouse enter instead of mouse leave because I only want to modify that visibility at the moment the mouse cursor enters the bounds of my windows, not every time that it moves around. This will prevent me from setting a property repeatedly, which may eventually slow down my machine. Visual Studio opens up for me. And I need to say this dot backplate dot visibility equals visibility dot visible. Now similarly, when the mouse leaves, I want to change my visibility to invisible. Let's add another event handler here. And this dot backplate dot visibility equals visibility dot hidden. Switch back to blend, press F5, and now that my mouse is inside the window, I get the solid window, but as soon as I move outside, I get that kind of transparent effect. All of this is just some of the ways that you can manipulate drawing brushes, and in this case, I've added a couple event handlers to make my application interact in a slightly different way. Now, I can modify that visibility further or modify the overall opacity of my entire window to make my window a complete ghost until I move into it and it becomes enabled. I could also create windows that animate on at this point, or you can get an idea of some of the other functionality that you could add here. Now, drawing brushes are static brushes. That means once they're established, you can't really do a lot with them. Granted, you could animate the transform, so I could animate how the brush appears and how it's pasted onto my window, but I can't really make any modifications to it after it's done. If you want to make modifications to your brush, that's when you would use a visual brush. I'm going to close this window, and now let's start working with a visual brush.